And I should have known. I should have come with like a full face of makeup to know that I'm going to be like sitting next
What?
to you. No.
Whatever. You look great. You look great. Hey, friends, welcome back to the Life of a Makeup Artist podcast. We have a new friend on the couch, James Boehmer. I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Now, James is a seasoned beauty executive who has worked with clients like Sophia Coppola, Naomi Campbell, Daphne Guinness, Zoe Saldana, like all the girlies, okay? But first of all, before we get into all of the things, James, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be doing
Thanks
this.
for coming. You came all the way from Connecticut, so thank you.
I'm happy to. It's so I love the podcast. I'm an avid listener, so I was so happy to do it.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Now, okay, so before we get into all of the things, how are you?
I'm good. It's not always. I guess I can't always say that I'm good, but I feel like I'm good right now. It's
Right.
been an interesting year. As just sort of like a grinding year, I guess. But I feel right now, actually really good. I love the fall.
Mhm.
I love the season. I think especially I moved to Connecticut a few years ago, so like this time of year in Connecticut is sort of
Right.
magical. So I try to just absorb it and
Right.
take all of that seasonal inspiration. But I'm good.
You
How
like
about
in
you?
your robe with your coffee.
That's in my robe with my coffee on my porch. I mean, that is literally it. I am
the crisp air.
I am like a country. I'm a country bumpkin these days.
Oh,
It's like
I
after
love
so many
that.
years of New York and cities, I am now like a country guy, and it's been very restorative.
I love that word, restorative. I'm good. I can't complain. I just came back from Italy, so I can't complain. I
How's
had
your jet lag? When'd you get back?
a week ago, but it wasn't bad because I let myself rest, I feel like.
Yeah,
But it was restorative.
it's
That's
good.
the trip. It was restorative. It kind of like re-inspired me to just finish out the end of the year on a high note.
Did you go? Were you going for work, or did you
No,
go more
not
for
work.
just like
To relax.
nice? And
with
where in
friends.
Italy were you?
I went to Capri, Positano, and then I just did like a little day thing in Amalfi Coast.
Amazing,
Yeah,
beautiful.
my first time there. But I don't know, if I did your intro justice. So I would love to have you introduce yourself to your new friends.
Oh yeah. Well, hi everyone. I'm James Boehmer. I'm the global artistic director for Shiseido Makeup. I'm a makeup artist. I've been working as a makeup artist for I think it's like 25 plus years, something like that.
You lose count.
I-
like
it's
a long time.
It's just like I'm just, I'm old at this point, so it seems like I've been doing it for a long time. Yeah, happy to be here.
Okay, so we have a lot to talk about.
Okay, let's do it.
Because you have spent a lot of time at NAS, at Shiseido, but I want to take it back a little bit because you are actually from the Midwest,
Yep.
and then you ended up in Chicago.
Yep.
How did that transition happen?
Well, I grew up outside of St. Louis, Missouri. Sort of like I grew up actually in a very rural environment, and then when I was like a teenager, I moved more to like a suburb of the city. And I knew from as long as I could remember that I was like counting the minutes to get out of St. Louis. Like I felt like I wanted more.
But now you're back in. You feel
and
like
now
you're back in rural.
It's so funny. It's like my dad always says that. He's like, it's full circle. You've
Right.
come back to your roots. But when I graduated high school, I was sort of figuring out like what I wanted to do. I was, involved in the arts and dance and performance and acting, and I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew it was going to be art adjacent. So I had initially wanted to take some time off, post high school before college and just figure it out. But my mom sort of like unceremoniously one day told me, like, if you are not enrolled in school, you don't have health insurance. So you need to figure out what you're doing like immediately. So I sort of like, a friend of mine, we had been spending some time in Chicago, like back and forth from St. Louis to Chicago. We would go to shows, and, it was the 90s. So it was that amazing moment of like pop culture and music and rave, and we just
The
were
Andy
always,
Warhol of it all.
it was like this, yeah, like
Yeah.
I guess the 90s version of that. So I went to school in Chicago, and I sort of I was studying at the Columbia College, and I was studying a little bit of everything. Garment construction and costume design was what I actually
Wow.
started
That's super
studying.
interesting.
And much to the chagrin of my mother, who is a seamstress by trade, I could not sew.
Mhm.
So I quickly sort of figured out like what else I could do in like in the community at college, like all of these art students. So I started working more with like film and fashion adjacent, and then like I a friend of mine, her boyfriend at the time, sold a script for a little bit of money and had some money to do a film. So she asked me to do costumes, hair, and makeup for this like very, I mean, low budget doesn't even qualify it. It
Right.
was like zero budget.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's even like scenes where I'm like an extra. It was
You had
sort of
multiple
fun. I
roles.
had multiple roles, but then the producer that worked on that like liked me. I think I was like 19 years old, and he was like, "Oh yeah, let's would you be interested in working in like television and commercial?" And that's sort of how I started.
Wow.
So I quit college and just started working like immediately, not really even knowing what I was doing.
Right.
So yeah,
That's crazy, but isn't it so interesting how sometimes, we say we want to say no to things because it's not paid well or it's not, and you just never know where it's going to lead you.
I mean, I don't even I think that I was paid for that job. I don't have any memory of like what I was paid. I was such a poor, struggling like college student. Like
Right.
it's another story for another time, but my dad had cut me off because my like shopping habits were not so under control. My stepmom actually cut me off. So I was
She's
like,
like, get your life
Get your
together.
life
Get the
together.
hell out
Get
of
your life together. Like, what are you doing?" I was like,
I like her.
she was good. She was good. I was working as like a telemarketer. I was selling like theater subscriptions, just really doing whatever I could. And this sort of idea of being a makeup artist sort of came when I think it came because I wasn't looking for it, to be
Right.
honest. And then I figured out, I could sub sort of supplement my work and my income by working in retail. So then I
Right.
started working
I-
on the retail side of makeup as well.
So you ended up in Barney's.
Yeah, well, before Barney's, I worked with Stila
Hmm.
when Janine was there, which was amazing. Like, I love Janine. She's such an inspiration and such a great mentor. I started working with Stila, like sort of in the retail end of that,
Hmm.
right when they launched, and then I met the girl who was running the NARS counter at Barney's because I would work at Barney's sometimes when I was
Hmm.
at Stila.
Hmm.
And she was like, "You need to come over to NARS. NARS is where it's at, blah, blah, blah." So then I started working for NARS. And then that led to a position at Barney's where I was their resident makeup artist. So I sort of oversaw the department and worked with all of the brands that we carried. But
Hmm.
I mean, my love was really NARS. And
Right.
then after that, for a little bit, I went
To
officially to
Shiseido.
NARS.
So I actually want to. I want you to paint this picture for us because we all kind of know what it's like to just walk into a department store and shop for makeup. We have Sephora, we have Ulta, Blue Mercury, all the things. But what was that like in the 90s? I'm sure it was completely different.
It was well, if you've ever seen that Saturday Night Live skit, this was from like years ago. I think it was Will Ferrell that was like spoofing Jeffrey, like
Hmm.
the Jeffrey department store. Barney's was definitely that. I feel like Barney's was like the temple of fashion and
Hmm.
like anything that was chic, anything that was cool. And the Barney's in Chicago it's like relatively new. I think it opened in like 95 or 96. And I think
Hmm.
I showed up there probably around 96, maybe 94, something like that. But, this was the moment of like the supermodel, Linda Evangelista had done the ad campaigns
Hmm.
with Francois
Hmm.
and with Stephen Meisel. Um, it was, it was like almost like a badge of honor
Hmm.
to work at Barney's, and I
Right.
think especially in the climate of Chicago, in that retail world of Chicago, it was like the coolest place. So whenever celebrities, athletes, musicians, anyone was in town,
Hmm.
they came to Barney's. So
Wow.
it was very, I guess, sort of on the pulse,
Right.
and we were just. I mean, I was young and didn't know what I was doing and sort of learned as I was going. And it was just, I think more than anything that time was so fun. Like
Right.
the people I worked with became my friends. Like a lot of the customers that came into the store became my friends, and I still have a lot of relationships from that time. And it was fun. It was and makeup at the time I think was really It was definitely a moment because it was that moment when makeup artists were launching their brand. So as I
Mhm.
mentioned, Stila and of course NARS and like Lorac and what Kevin was doing with Shiseido, which sort of comes full circle later.
Right.
But it was just a really inspiring time to be a makeup artist, be in that world, even
Mhm.
to be like adjacent, sort of in
Mhm.
like the retail world. It was um, spectacular.
I'm really enthralled by your story because I feel like you just never realize how fast time flies and how many roles that you've undertaken because you've at this point very much 360 in beauty, director of makeup artistry, product development, as an artist, costume, all the things, right? Sorry. So what I actually want to know is like what was your experience like, going from retail to having to be director of
Mhm.
artistry? Like
Well,
it's a whole new world for you now, right?
it was really like I think it was really my time at NARS and,
Mhm.
I think I was at the right moment at the right time in the right place and sort of
Mhm.
really hit the ground running. Francois started the brand in 94. It was just 12 lipsticks at only at Barney's.
Mhm.
And there was no global distribution. It was only in Barney's in the States. And, the brand grew really quickly. So when I was one of those people that were on the ground at Barney's and got to know all of the people at NARS,
Mhm.
there were probably 8 or 10 people in like a loft in Soho,
Right.
and it was like small, small, small. So we all came on and assumed roles, whether they were like official roles or not, and we sort of did everything. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I remember we would advise on product development at the time. This was before Shiseido acquired NARS. We would, we were, it was like, one person would do product development, but also do education and would
Mhm.
also do PR. So it was very like wild and
Mhm.
sort of like I guess like the wild wild west and very like entrepreneurial, like no one knew where it was going. And then when Shiseido came in and sort of bought the brand, created some structure, and obviously helped with like the global expansion of the brand, I think we all took different paths.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, honestly, I think if you would have asked me like 20 or 25 years ago, like if I would have seen myself in this more on this side of the business, like
Mhm.
product development, concept of product, like
Mhm.
creative campaign. You're still doing makeup, but I mean, I don't think I would have thought about that. I
Right.
wanted to be in the trenches. I loved doing fashion week. I loved doing shows. I loved doing shoots. I liked doing the makeup. So
Mhm.
like the corporate quote unquote side of it, I didn't understand. And I think all of us at the NARS brand at the time were like, had no idea what that meant or what that
Right.
looked like, or if we could even like fake it to play the game.
Right. Because you're like,
Eh,
I'm
like,
I'm tired. I'm ready to clock out.
that's right. Or like, you just didn't know what like I don't think we knew probably part of this I attribute a lot of the success of the brand at that moment and like the rise of that brand is probably because no one really knew what they were doing in a certain
Right.
respect. And I think, because of Francois, because of his relationships in the industry and with editors and with models and with celebrities, the product was getting on the right
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
So that was sort of how all of that word of mouth built, so much to the so much to when, Shiseido came in and actually acquired the brand and sort of took it to the next level. I was lucky enough to sort of be there at that time, try on lots of different roles. I still worked in stores. I worked in the education department. I worked with product development. I worked with the PR and communication side. And Ayako Yoshimura, who was the color director for NARS at the
Mhm.
time, I when I moved to New York, which was 2003, um, I had been sort of in the orbit of the NARS brand, I guess, from like 97 until then. Um, and then when I officially moved to New York, I started working with Ayako and assisting her. And
Nice.
then that was how I sort of got into the fashion side of it, working with celebrities and working on shoots and working on shows. So I was lucky that I got to do a
Right.
little see everything.
Right.
And then to be honest, I didn't really make decisions about anything. It was just sort of like this is how it like
Right.
evolved.
Right. So the move to New York, was that your decision or was it like, I think I need to move with like the brand is saying like I think you should move, or were you just like I think I want to move?
It was I mean, it was a little bit of everything, like, I mean, before I graduated from high school in St. Louis, like, I initially thought that I would end up in New York. I
Mm.
think I'm glad that I didn't come to New York as, like, an 18-year-old, like, wet behind the ears, like, crazy, like, Kristen McMenemy clone with, like, shaved eyebrows, like, I wanted to be a club kid. I was like I probably would have
I need
gotten,
to
like
see those pictures.
I can share them, they're horrifying, but I would, no, they're fun. I think I would have been sort of eaten up and spit out if I
Right.
came at that moment, but, no, my partner, my boyfriend at the time was actually working at Barney's. He was the visual director for the Chicago store,
Mm.
and he had actually gotten the offer to move to New York to take over the Madison Avenue
Mm.
store, and at that point, I had already I guess in 2000 or 2001, it always gets a little hazy because like, I mean, the NARS my NARS chapter was, like, 20 years or
Right.
something like that. Um, I I was already working for the brand, but based in Chicago, and I was traveling. So when I found out that my partner was open to the move and was able to move, I was like, well, I can go because
Right. You're not leaving me.
well, you're not leaving me here. And also I'm based here, but I'm working everywhere. I
Right.
wasn't
You could,
like
yeah, it makes
working.
sense for you as well.
And it was pretty serendipitous that the apartment that we found was literally 3 blocks from the NARS office. So I think also that timing helped me out with my career at NARS because I was literally seconds away from the office. So if
Right.
anything needed to happen, if they needed anyone to do, anything, I
Right.
sort of became that go-to person. So I was really
Wow.
lucky that everyone at the brand you know, grabbed me.
Right.
So yeah, it was like I always dreamed of going to New York. It was always my dream, but it was yeah, there was lots of it was my partners really that
Right.
like that
Right.
that Barney's paid for us to move. So that
Right.
was like really how we did it. Like
Right.
I don't think if we would have I mean, we wouldn't have been able to afford to move to New York if
Right.
Barney's didn't foot
Right.
the bill to relocate him here.
Right. Well, thank you, Barney's.
That's right. Thank you. It's all
Um
listen, always thank you, Barney's. Thank you, Barney's. RIP Barney's. I miss
I
you,
know, right?
Barney's.
Well, you know what's so crazy? This outfit that I'm wearing is a collaboration with Barney's and
Oh,
Forever.
is this the Forever 21?
Yeah,
It's so cute.
right? I
Yeah,
was
so
like,
cute.
okay,
Well, look at that. It's coming
it's
it's
supposed
coming
to.
360. Did you plan that or was that serendipitous?
Maybe I
Yeah.
did. Maybe I did. Okay, well, actually, I want to talk about product ideation. I know that you said your hands were in a lot of things, but I really want to emphasize to our audience how integral you've been in some of the products that we use and love. So tell us more about like how product ideation works, whether it's within Shiseido or the time that you've spent at NAS.
Well, at NARS it was, like I said, we operated sort of very ragtag and sort of like wild. So um advising on products and product development. Like I was on the artistry team. We worked really closely with product development to like make sure that things worked and that things looked good. We made sure that like the complexion products that were being developed like looked right on skin,
Mm-hmm.
that the textures and performance of the products would work. So at NARS, we were all very involved.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of as time progressed and my time progressed at NARS, I started working more closely with our product development team there.
Mm-hmm.
Kim Davis, who is incredible for I think people in the industry know who Kim is. Like
Mm-hmm.
she really was the force behind a lot of those incredible products
Mm-hmm.
at that time, late 90s. Well, I guess it's really like early 2000s, mid 2000s. Um, and then she went on to do Fenty, and she
Mm-hmm.
went on to work at Glossier, and she's had her hand in lots of
Right.
products that are in everyone's kits to
Right.
this day. So it was a little bit more informal and part of a collective at NARS, and then I started working more closely with all of the like collaborations. So
Mm-hmm.
when we would do things with designers or artists, we did like a collection with Erdem and Christopher Kane at
Mm-hmm.
NARS. And so started to work with the team that would develop, sort of take the ideas from the designers and put it into product and help to sort of marry their ideas
Mm-hmm.
with the NARS brand's ideas.
Right.
And then I worked with the artistry department. So I worked really closely on like brushes and like brush development and things like that. So that was sort of where I was at: education, artistry, product development adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
and obviously still working in the industry, doing shoots, doing shows.
Mhm.
And then that was where that's what sort of took me to
Mhm.
Shiseido in the role that I have now.
Mm.
Because in 2018, I left NARS in 2016
Mhm.
and went to Shiseido. But we relaunched the whole Shiseido makeup line in 2018. So we
Yes.
like took sort of threw everything away and had the opportunity to revamp it. So that was when I was really more in the trenches and more in the concepting
Right.
and the storytelling and
Right.
all of the shade development and shade naming and all of that came more
Right.
with Shiseido.
I love that. But you also, I wanted to mention that you did create some brushes for Shiseido.
Oh yeah.
I would love to you for you to talk about those.
Well, it was interesting because when we came onto the Shiseido project, like we basically had 2 years to do it, which 2 years is it's our standard product
Mhm.
development time. Um,
I feel like that's most, right? Most.
pretty common, I think, especially with bigger companies like Shiseido that have like a global distribution. There's a lot of checks and balances with the formulas and the products and the packaging, safety, stability, things like that.
Mhm.
But we were doing everything all at once. So we were doing like eye category, lip category, face category. But the brushes were something that was really like my own little thing. I mean, obviously, as a makeup artist, it was something that I felt like I could do that no one else on our very small team could do.
Right.
And because of my experience with the NARS brand and all of the time that I'd spent in Japan, Shiseido acquired the NARS brand, I think in 2000, 2001. So I started spending time in Japan shortly thereafter, 2002, 2003, I think was my first trip. So I knew that what I sort of coveted and what I sort of learned, partially from like being backstage, partially from looking at other makeup artist kits, and then partially from like being in Japan, that the brushes made in Japan are really the best, the highest quality.
Did you go to that town?
Oh yeah, Kumano.
Yes,
So that's
Kumano.
actually where
Sick.
all of our brushes are made.
Right.
And yeah, so it's like Kumano
I
is
want to
like,
go
oh, you have to go.
there.
It's like, well, listen, we need to figure out like a creative trip to Japan. But Kumano is really known for it's like making the Rolls Royce of brushes.
Right.
So yeah, making the brushes for Shiseido was very personal. I wasn't able to make a lot of brushes. I think
Right.
we only launched with 5.
Mhm.
I wanted them to be really multi-purpose. I wanted them to be really functional. I really thought about like the brushes that I never could find
Mhm.
in my years as a makeup artist, or also like adapting or making something that I loved better,
Right.
and had the idea of I everything I do with Shiseido is about Japan. The brand
Mhm.
is 151 years old. We have an insane archive to have access to for inspiration, and
And the
brush
skincare too.
I mean skincare,
I mean, that's a whole
like
other
the
conversation.
skincare is a whole other conversation. But with I think I wanted to figure out a way to tell a story about Japan in the brushes, and I looked at calligraphy brushes and art brushes actually as inspiration, not makeup brushes,
Mhm.
which I think is why the brushes are so dear to me, because we really approached them. Yes, they needed to perform and they needed to function as tools for applying makeup, but I also wanted them to be beautiful objects that felt good in your hand, that married that sort of Japanese ethos of like form and function.
Mhm.
I wanted them to be like synthetic so that you could use them with any material and that they weren't like cruel to animals. And I just wanted them to look like Japan. So it was something that literally went from like, cutting things out of paper in a 2D world and like figuring out like sizes and scale and how they would fit in your hand, to then 3D rendering them and
Right.
then working with the brush makers to like see the molds come together, and it's just incredible. Like
That
these
must be
things,
so fun.
it's like wild. It's still one of those things that's like a pinch me moment, like to think about like something that we came up with on like two-dimensional paper turned into something that these beautiful objects that are handmade and touched by artisans and still made in the tradition of brush making in Kumano that's been
Mhm.
around for thousands of years. So
Right.
these modern things that are still very much emblematic
Right.
of heritage.
Right. That's super interesting. I definitely have to go to that town.
Oh, you have to go. It's like it's wild because it's like it's almost like I hate to say it's like an amusement park, but almost if you think about an amusement
Because
park,
anybody
like
can go, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, anyone can go, and a lot of the, a lot of the manufacturers that are based in Kumano have, they have shops and they have, there's like a brush sort of fair or like celebration. I can't remember if
Okay.
it's in August,
I can't remember. I
but
need to figure
it's
that out because
you
I'm
need
planning
to.
to go to Japan next year.
Well,
So,
you have to let us know. Number one, we'll like hook you up with like the sights and sounds of Tokyo for
okay,
sure.
I will.
But definitely Kumano
Oh
is you
yeah.
have to go.
I'm gonna do that, and I'm also gonna do the me and my friend are gonna dress up in like Mario Kart outfits and do the
Oh, I
the
mean,
Mario Kart things.
that's amazing. Like this, I mean, the thing about Japan that's so cool. I mean, there's too many things about Japan that are so cool and so inspiring. I loved Japan and like specifically like Japan's animation as a kid.
Hmm.
Like I was obsessed with like Battle of the Planets and G-Force and all of those cartoons. But yeah, like the character and like the cosplay and like it is really exactly what you think it is.
Yeah.
Like you walk like certain neighborhoods in Japan are sort of tied to different types of characters. Like, you have these like gothic lolitas that are in
Right.
one neighborhood, and then you have these sort of like superhero like comic manga sort of characters in other neighborhoods. So
Right.
it's definitely a place like you will not be looked at if you're
Right.
walking around in like Mario Kart outfits.
Right.
Like everyone will just be like tipping their hat and
Right.
sort of like, yeah,
Right.
go for it.
Yeah, I think it's so important, especially as artists, to kind of like go to different places and just get inspiration. But also as a makeup artist, like for me, obviously, like what we were talking about, brushes and stuff are so important. I am a very much I like skin to look like skin.
Yep.
And I actually want you to talk about the new foundation that Shiseido just launched,
Oh,
the
yes.
Revital Essence.
Yes. Well, it was so nice to see you at the event. We were so glad you were there. I think what you just said, always as a makeup artist, this was something that I learned from Francois. This was really something that I learned from every makeup artist that I worked with, and something that was always really important to me in my work as an artist was portraying skin that looked like skin and was believable. And I think, especially if we like go back in the time machine to like the '90s, and especially like post '80s, like it was really hard to find makeup products that looked like skin. Like you
Mhm.
looked like you were wearing makeup.
Right.
The colors weren't right. Everything was very corrective. Everything was like either like yellow or
And
red
powdery.
based and powdery. So yeah, I mean, like I feel like years and years and years, like, we would we would mix things with makeup to make it work. Revital Essence was interesting. Because we knew when we were launching the product that we wanted it to be an actual hybrid of skincare and makeup. I think, up to this product, really, most makeup products are inspired by skincare. And that was really what we had done at Shiseido up until then,
Mm,
inspired by the textures or feelings of our
mm,
skincare products and adapting those textures to makeup. But there was never skin benefit
right.
to those makeup products. And
Right.
that's what's different about Revital Essence. And because we have 151 years of research in skin and making products that are efficacious and that actually do something for your skin, like Shiseido really knows skin. So we took all of that expertise and put it into this foundation. So it is definitely for us at Shiseido, it is the first, and I think really for the market, it's really the first foundation product that has the same amount of ingredients of a skincare product and delivers the same results as a skincare product.
Right.
So our skincare team will not want me to say this. So I'm just gonna, I don't know. We can edit this part out later, but you really get the same benefit wearing the makeup product as you would wearing a skincare product.
Right.
So your skin is improved over time. You start to see a difference in within a week. Skin is smoother, brighter, fine lines less diminished,
Right.
more hydrated. So all of that's amazing. That comes from like the science side of
Right.
Shiseido. But what I do is sort of blend the art side.
Right.
Shiseido has always been about that fusion of art and science. So from a makeup point of view, it is just an incredible, like buildable coverage, light to medium finish. Like to say it glows is
Right.
is an understatement.
So for those who are listening, what would you compare that to? So like the artist that's listening or the beauty lover, what type of coverage is it
Mhm.
going to give?
So if you it's definitely not like a full coverage. It's buildable though.
Right.
So like if you like more of a full coverage, you can certainly like build it up. I think it's really like I mean, I think of it really as like a medium coverage
Hmm.
foundation. It's more than like a tinted moisturizer or like a BB cream
It's
type
more than a
product.
face and body type of vibe.
It's more than a face and body
Hmm.
from like MAC or from Makeup
Hmm.
Forever. It's definitely it gives you a really flawless, luminous look, but again, it's like it's very believable. It
It's
looks
nice.
like skin.
Yeah.
And I think if you want more coverage, you can always, what I like to do is layer concealer sort of in it. Like
Hmm.
I'll do concealer first, put the foundation on top, and then mix a little
Hmm.
concealer in with it. It's also because it is really a skincare product. If you apply it like a skincare product, it's going to
Hmm.
give you a sheer coverage. But if you use a brush, it'll give you
Right.
more coverage.
Right. So I would love to know what are some of the top tips that you have learned from Francois Nars? Because I don't know, it's so casual for you because you've experienced it, right? So it's just like, oh yeah, I spent time with Nars. But that's incredible to be in the same rooms. Like that's how I felt when I was assisting Kabuki or Pat or
Yeah,
whoever. It's just like
Kabuki's amazing.
it's
I had
like
an opportunity to work with him. He is like
insane.
the best.
I've
Like,
assisted him once on a NARS thing, and I think Francois actually shot it.
yeah,
Yeah,
probably because
yeah.
he shot everything. Which one did you do with
This
Kabuki?
is so long ago, I can't remember.
I'm trying to
It's
remember
just
because
like
I know he did quite a few he did makeup for quite a few of the campaigns. He's well, I always I mean, I knew about Kabuki when he was a club kid. Like he was like, I was like, "Oh my god, Kabuki is like, Kabuki Starshine. He is like literally
yeah,
like a god."
yeah,
And then, just as a makeup artist, he's incredible. It's hard to say all like it's hard to pick like even a few things that I
right.
feel like I learned from my time at NARS and with Francois. I think for me personally, he was the makeup artist that spoke to me the most.
Mhm,
So as that queer kid in the suburbs of St. Louis, completely looking at that world of fashion and celebrity, like obsessed with it, his work was always the work that spoke to me. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned and really learned when I started working with him was this idea of creating a character.
mhm,
I think what is so amazing and beautiful about Francois is that there's like a purpose and intention behind everything that he does,
mhm.
especially when we're talking about a makeup look. So it's like there's a reference in the eyebrow to Sophia Loren, or there's like a feeling in the lipstick that's about, his travels. And I think that is something that I really learned,
Mhm.
especially with what I do now with Shiseido, is taking an idea, a concept, a feeling, a reference, and putting it into a look, a product, a photo, the way a package feels. Um, that I think is like one of the most profound things I learned from him, like how to tell a story
Right,
or like what what do you like this idea of like what do you want to say when
right.
you're showing a photo or creating a product. And then just from like an artistry technical point of view, working with him, like the way he would do skin, the way that he would, I think, very fearlessly
Mhm,
approach makeup, like definitely, he was somebody who, like, used his hands a lot,
mhm.
and I think that was something that, like, empowered me to
Right,
be more gestural in makeup
yeah,
and, like, throw the rules out.
right,
Oh, just because, you've been told that you can't put, like, lipstick on the eyes
right,
or, eyeshadow on the lips or, doing something that's more, like, impressionist versus finished, like,
right,
all of that I really learned from
right.
him, and he's just such an inspiration in that regard. I'm
Yeah.
sure that you got a lot of that from working with Pat.
Yeah. I mean, all of them. But I know that we would never be able to experience what you experience with NARS. But I think if you watch the film, if you guys watch the NARS
I
documentary,
have to watch it.
I went to the premiere,
Amazing
and
film.
it was amazing. I think that would actually kind of evoke some of the feelings that you just explained because I was so inspired,
Yeah.
like just seeing the behind the scenes. I'm so glad they were recording a lot of those like
Oh,
times
I mean, just to
because
just to see the footage that Francois captured behind the scenes of all of those iconic, like, Italian Vogue moments with Isabella Rossellini, and Verushka and Christy and Linda and Naomi, just like magical. But yeah, that film, if you haven't seen it, I think it's streaming like on every platform. It's so worth it.
Were you there that night?
No, I wasn't there,
Oh,
unfortunately.
it's like
It gives you an insight into his world, though, and he's a film lover, he's a pop culture lover, and just to see all of like the actual footage of all of those films that inspired his work at that time, and all of that work that then inspired like the names of the products and the shades of the product, like it just gives you like a real 360 into his
right,
brain,
right.
in a very poetic, sort of abstract sort of way. It's beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
As soon I'm like, it was so late when I finished the film was over, and I was like, I just want to do some makeup right now. I was
Ah,
so inspired.
it's also just like, again, I think that there's something, another thing that I always think about, when I think about my time with the NARS brand and with Francois, is the idea of dreaming.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that we lose sight of a lot. Like I sometimes have to slap myself, like when I'm having one of those days or one of those moments, like, no, you are like living your dream. Like you dreamt about this. You didn't know how to put it into words at the time, but you dreamt about being in this world and doing these things. And I think that that's something to always remind yourself, or maybe for anyone who's out there that's like looking to get into this industry, like give your dreams weight, give your dreams as much weight as your like concrete goals, because they do shape your journey, and
Hmm.
they do help sort of like shape your destiny, I think.
Right. So, do you mean when you're having like moments where you're just down, or moments of just like, I don't know, imposter syndrome, maybe? Is that
Yeah,
what you mean?
definitely. I think definitely moments of imposter syndrome. I think definitely moments like, and I'm sure, anyone who's been in the industry for any period of time, and this is true with makeup and beauty and fashion, but I think it's true with anything. I think, you know, as people, we hopefully are continuing to evolve and change.
Hmm.
And, you know, that will impact our career choices as well. So I think when I have those moments, yeah, I'm definitely like personally down, experiencing life in ways, life has ups and downs, you're dealing with hardships. But then also just like sometimes looking at your career and wanting to do something different. So I think yeah, I think like allowing yourself to dream and think outside of the box, and not, maybe my th- I'm a therapist junkie, so like, all types of therapy,
All the things.
all like from, if it's yoga, if it's like meditation, if it's
Mm-hmm.
my actual therapist, but this idea of being gentle with yourself and being gracious with yourself, and like, we don't have to always know where we're going next,
Mm-hmm.
but we should be really conscious of the present so that we can find the clues that are going to help us go on to the next step.
I love
If that
that.
makes any sense.
No, it makes a
It's
lot
not
of
too
sense.
like, sorry for going,
No,
sorry for going on the therapy couch
no,
here.
I
I'll
love
just lay
this.
down.
I love it. I'm like, listen, we all need it. I'll take it, okay? So, all right. So, for someone who's never used any makeup or skincare from Shiseido, what are maybe like, this is so hard. I'm asking you a hard question. Give us like three top products that this is all my budget can give me. Three
Mhm.
products. What are those products?
Well, I'm gonna answer, and then I want to hear from your side too. But I definitely, hands down, like the one of our essences.
Mm-hmm.
So in Japanese skincare and in the Japanese sort of beauty ritual, like the most important step is applying what they call an essence. So
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of like a combination of like a toner
Mm-hmm.
and like a serum.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really the first thing that you put on your skin after cleansing. And it's really the most important step because of
Mm-hmm.
how it preps your skin and prepares your skin to receive anything else that you put on. The first product that Shiseido made that was a beauty product was actually an essence. It was our product called Oitermine, which we still make.
Oh,
Like that was 1897, I think. So 100 and something years later, we still make it.
wow.
So that moisture essence, or like moisture lotion, is
Mm-hmm.
the most important step. We make a couple of different ones depending on like your skin type.
Mm-hmm.
But that step, whether you're oily, whether you're dry, whether you're combination is really important because it's the first step in hydration. I can't live without those. Like for myself personally, and when I'm doing skin prep, it's the thing that's the most important. Um, I mean, if you haven't tried or heard about our eyelash curler, I mean, it's the gold standard.
Yes. If you don't have
It,
it,
it
are you really a beauty
if you don't have the
girly?
Shiseido eyelash
Oh, I
curler,
love her.
are you really do you really know what's up? And I wish, one of my biggest regrets in my career is that I did not develop that product that existed before I came on.
Right.
But the eyelash curler always, because of the shape, it fits every eye shape.
Mm-hmm.
Because of its design, it doesn't crimp, it doesn't bend the lash, it
Mm-hmm.
actually curls the lash. And I think whether you wear mascara or eye makeup or not, like curling your lashes makes your eyes more open.
Yeah.
Um, and then, I mean, because I'm shameless and I want anyone to listen to get a brush, I would say like you have to have one of the brushes. We've already talked about the foundation, but so I think the specifically our Diafude brush, which is this double-ended tool. One side is a sort of fluffy yet precise brush
Mm-hmm.
that you can use for anything. And then on the bottom of the handle, there's this like silicone gel blender that is, I designed it to be like a finger.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, a lot of people, I like the touch of your fingers and like the warmth of your hands. It helps to like put skincare and makeup on in a more seamless way, but a lot of people don't like to use their fingers.
Right.
So I created that finger as like a hygienic fingertip.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't realize this when I was designing it, but everyone started talking about it as we were developing. And then when people started working with the tool, they're like, oh my God, this is like a finger when I have long fingernails. Like I can use this as like a finger to
Right.
apply product and I don't have to like put my finger into the product
And
and
then
get
it's all under
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 the
my
nail.
nails.
So I think that I guess if I had to pick three today, those would be the things I'd pick. What would you pick?
Oh my God. Don't put me
Because
on the
I also
spot.
know that you are like a skin girl and a
I am a
skincare
skin
girl.
girl.
So I'm curious about like skincare products that you love.
Skincare? Oh damn, I already had my okay, so
Well, you
I'm
don't
a
have to do skincare. You
okay,
can
okay.
do makeup because that's what I make.
Okay, well, I actually do. I want both because I mean, don't have the like exact proper name, but the SPF stick.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
incredible.
it's been my go-to like for like 2 or 3 summers now
Hmm.
because it's so easy. I don't know how I did this, but I actually went all the way to Italy with a carry-on
Oh my
and
God.
a duffel bag.
You are braver than I am. I will
I,
tell
I
you
can't believe I
that.
did it because I'm an overweight. Charge my card. I don't care. 2 bags. I don't. I need what I need. And the Shiseido is one of the SPFs that I carried because I
Yep.
know I can put this over makeup. I
Yep.
can just reapply, and it's just one of my
It's
favorites.
and for any of you who haven't tried it, it's clear, which is really rare in
Yes,
SPF. So again, like Jaleesa said, you can put it under or over makeup, but it also will not give like a white cast like a lot of
at
SPF
all.
does
Hmm.
for any skin tone. And I also like it because it's so lightweight. I'm the same way. Like you can put it like all the way up to your eyes. Like I even put it on my eyelids.
Yeah.
Like I put it like on my ears, and it's
Right.
just so easy to apply
Yeah, and this is not. There's not a lot of products you want to put on your
on
eyelid.
your
It might be too
eyelids,
like watery or anything
watery or
like that.
greasy. Yeah,
So if you've never seen it before, it looks like a deodorant.
yeah,
It's
it
like very
does.
small.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you haven't tried it, it's one of my favorites. And then I think, just to introduce a makeup lover to Shiseido and especially like complexion, I
Hmm.
would say Synchro Skin.
Oh yeah.
It's just iconic.
Yep.
Because I would want this person to be like, no, I need this every day.
It's
You can share it out, you can get
Yep.
more coverage.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna steal one of yours. I think the eyelash curler is, but you know what? Damn, this is hard. I do like the single eyeshadows.
Yep.
The single eyeshadows are like kind of slept on. The color payoff is
It's
really nice.
it's interesting. Well, like I wanted to say one thing about Synchro Skin because it's interesting that like you love the Sun Stick and you love Synchro Skin because the technology and the formula of Synchro Skin was born from our sun care technology.
Mm,
So
not me
it's
knowing.
called Wet Force,
Uh-huh.
or it was called Wet Force, and now I think it's called like Synchro Shield or something like that. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
work
yeah,
on the
yeah.
sun
Right.
side,
Hmm.
but basically, when you wear sunscreen, especially when you sweat or when you're in water, obviously sweat and water impedes the performance of the sunscreen.
Hmm.
And what the Shiseido labs had worked on with the sun care products was that the sun care protection was actually bolstered and
Hmm.
sort of boosted by water and sweat. So when you
Mm,
sweat or when you get wet, the sunscreen's reactivated. So we took
mm,
that idea in the Synchro Skin. So when part of why it stays on so well is when oil or sweat from your skin breaks through the surface of your makeup, it reactivates the finish of the makeup.
Right.
So that's why you get
Hmm.
such a long wear. And then
I
interestingly, like
didn't know that.
the pop powder gel eyeshadows, I love that you said that because for me, um, the development of that product was and the concept behind that product was one of the most
So creamy.
personal
Yeah.
to me. Like, well, the product itself is actually like it's like a combination of a gel and a
A
powder.
gel powder,
So you
yeah.
can use it with your fingers, you can use it with a brush, but the colors and the names and all of that were really inspired by the sounds
Hmm.
of Japan. So like when I started going to Japan and I didn't speak the language, and it's, like, very overwhelming when you're in Japan, it's, like, it's overwhelming in an amazing way, like, in an inspiring way, but I think when you're a foreigner in another country
Right.
and you don't speak the language, you look at things almost like a child. So, I sort of would fuse, like, sound and color and experience all in one. So, with the pop powder gel eyeshadows, my intention was really to sort of create this, like, multi-sensory experience.
Hmm.
So, like, I was thinking about like what does color sound like
Right.
when I developed the shades, and then when we did the campaign with Hunter Schafer, which was I think that was the first color campaign that we did with
Hmm.
her. She's like saying all of the Japanese names like Horo Horo Silk and like Waku Waku Pink, and like Waku Waku actually is the sound that your heartbeat makes when it's
Oh,
excited.
wow.
But then I paired it with like it's also can be used like that expression can be used as feeling like you're in love or like butterflies in your stomach,
Oh,
and then I thought it was like a pink color. So it's funny how like when you don't speak a language natively, you never can really understand like the nuance of the language, but I really tried
right.
to, convey that feeling in those colors.
Right. I love that. So, talking about oils, because you mentioned this with the Synchro Skin
Yep.
foundation, as a makeup artist who's been a makeup artist for a very long time, how would you prep the skin for someone who has oily skin versus like a drier skin type? Is there a certain thing that you do differently?
I definitely think always the first step in skin prep, and as like an artist, I know what my team always does and what I always do is you spend time really like feeling and touching the skin
Hmm.
so that okay, I'm feeling like I'm feeling pores, or I'm feeling dry texture, or I'm feeling dehydration, I'm feeling oiliness. So I think knowing where to put what product is
Mm.
really important. That being said, you need the skin to be hydrated and you need the skin to be like smooth.
Hmm.
So I always like to gently exfoliate the
Hmm.
skin before I put anything on. So I think that's a really important step, whether you're oily or not. If you're oily, I would say go with really fluid type products like
Okay.
that moisture essence that I was talking about.
Hmm.
Serum products or
Hmm.
like gel type products versus
Right.
like creamy. Don't be afraid to use a ton because I use so much product. Like I use way more product than the recommended application
You're
dose.
like,
All like, from the
ugh.
décolleté up, like down to the shoulders and the elbows. And then before I get into the makeup, I just like blot. So part of like the beauty and like I think when skin really looks like skin is like touching it, getting the blood flowing, massaging it so that it looks like alive and healthy. And then if you're more on the dry side, more dehydrated side, switch those textures to include like a richer cream.
Right. So you say you blot the skin. You blot it
Yeah.
with a tissue.
And that was something I learned actually from Ayako at NARS when I was working with her. She's an amazing makeup artist. I think technically just such an incredible makeup artist. But whenever she would do skin prep, we would use lots of products. We'd use, 7, 8, 9
Hmm.
different weights of
Wow.
products to like really prep the skin. But then, you take a tissue, you sort of fold it in half and just like block the excess off
Right.
before you go into any makeup.
Right. Because it'll slip and
Because
slide.
it's gonna slip and slide.
Right.
As we all know, like you have like a little oily or shiny spot and you're trying to like put makeup on, it's just gonna
Right.
no matter how great the product is, it's just gonna slide off.
Right. So you are so integrated into the world of beauty. You've been at so many different brands. What do you do to decompress? That is just, you're like, I'm not at work. My phone is on silent. Nobody call me. What do you do to decompress?
Um, well, it's very much attached to I think there's 2 things. One is sort of attached to, I think, feeding my brain for what I do is like ravenous for like art and
Mhm.
culture and music. So, I mean, like, even, I like literally in the 15 minutes between like parking my car and like coming to your studio, I like went to see like a gallery show and like an exhibit.
Oh,
So
really?
that's one
You
thing
had
that
a full day.
I'm going to another one right after this. But like, so that's one thing that I do that does feel like decompression to me because it's
Right,
like a way to feed me in a non-direct way.
right.
I think the other one, like when I'm at home, like I said, I live in the country. Um, I don't have reliable like broadband Wi-Fi service all the time. So sometimes I really am like off the grid. I love to cook.
Oh,
I love
nice.
to I'm sort of I love the intention of cooking. I love the prep of cooking. I love, even if I'm not following a recipe, I
Uh-huh.
love like assembling
The
like the
process of
colors
it.
and the
Yeah.
textures and
Like
I think
doing makeup with food.
it's like doing makeup with food. Exactly, exactly.
What's your favorite cuisine? Do you have one?
Um, it's I mean, honestly, like one of the things that I'm super into right now, and like my boyfriend and I love to do is make pizza.
Oh, nice.
So like I love to like, make the dough, do the dough, and it's sort of like it's every pizza is different.
Right,
And I think if I had to pick one right now, that would be what it is.
right. You
Um,
need to try some Trini food.
well, I love. Would you
Yeah.
have good recommendations on where I should go?
Yes, I
Oh,
absolutely
you're
do.
gonna have to
So
tell
yes,
me.
I'll text
So,
you.
especially like whenever I'm in the city, that is one thing I try to do. I come into the office a few days a week, and normally I sort of zip right back to Connecticut. But I'm always looking for
Right,
like a food experience is always what
right.
I want.
I got you.
All right,
So what
looking
are you
forward to it.
looking forward to in besides the Trini food in in 2024 that is not work related?
um, Work related, we do have a lot of really cool, exciting things with Hunter coming out. So stay
Okay.
tuned. Like
Okay.
it's 24 is really going to be an exciting year for like Hunter and Shiseido. So stay tuned.
Ooh.
Um, Personally,
Personally.
um, I think one thing that I've really loved this past year and I really want to take into the next year is I've really made a conscious effort of spending more time with my family,
Mhm.
specifically like, all of my siblings' kids. So my
Mhm.
nieces and nephews are all like young adults now, and
Mhm.
I'm wildly inspired by them and what they're doing and watching them become adults. And watching them become like these fully formed people is so inspiring and rewarding to me. I hope that for 24, I'm going to get to spend more
More
time with all
time.
of them.
Oh, that's so sweet.
You know, I could not let this episode end without sharing some Shiseido love with you. Now, James is giving us all the insight, and we are actually hosting a giveaway on our Instagram. But the best part is, there will not only be one winner, but two winners. One prize will go to a makeup artist because, of course, we have to show some kid love. And the second prize will go to a makeup and skincare lover. So you both will get to experience some of the fire products discussed in this episode. Now, I have to say, I'm a little jelly, okay? I'm a little jelly of whoever's going to win because it's going to be so good. Now, all the details are going to be in the show notes and over on our socials. Good luck, and let's get back to the episode.
Well, we're not done yet. I want to play a game with you. You
Okay.
down?
Oh no. I know. I do know because I listen to the show that you like to play games. So I'm maybe prepared or like
Not so
horribly,
much.
horribly unprepared.
Okay, so this is your beauty card. You get to hold that. And if for those of you who have never listened to the podcast and you're like, what is happening? We play beauty card revoke. You need to get at least 3 answers right in order to keep your beauty card. If not, it will be revoked. I'm so sorry. Okay. So are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So it'll be 3 options, and you don't have too long to answer, okay? So
Okay.
in what year did Nas originate? Was it A, 1994? Was it B, 1995? Or was it C, 1996?
1994.
Period. Okay,
For
that was
sure.
easy. That
That
was
was
easy. It's
easy.
like
That was
light work,
easy.
light work, light work.
Okay, okay.
Okay, the next one was who directed Nars's film/documentary that just came out? Was it A, Lisa Vreeland? Was it B, Diana Vreeland? Or was it C, Jessica Williams?
Lisa Vreeland.
Ah,
And her documentary about Diana Vreeland is also amazing. It's called The Eye Has to Travel. If you haven't seen it, it's a must watch.
okay, okay.
Okay. I'm at
You
40.
got-
I'm at 40%. I'm at 40%. Okay.
You're
I only
too
need one
correct.
more. I only need one more.
Okay.
No pressure. No pressure.
Okay,
No
so
pressure, no
what
pressure.
is banned in cosmetics but still allowed in foods as of February 2023?
Okay.
Is it A, titanium dioxide? Is it B, red dye number 3? Or is it C, chromium oxide?
Red dye number 3.
That is correct.
Yes.
But we'll finish. Okay, so this model signed a contract as the new face of Maybelline in 1992. The following year, the Museum of Modern Art in New York made her the face of the 20th century, creating a line of mannequins in her likeness. Who was this model?
She is my favorite supermodel of all time, and I was like humbly got to work with her one time. Christy Turlington.
Yes.
She's
Okay.
my. She's my.
It's like you don't even need to
She's
give
my
me
all-time
the
favorite. She's my
You don't need
all-time
to give
favorite.
me the options, honey. I live this. Okay. Okay, just for fun, we'll do the last one. Okay.
What do I? I'm sorry.
You get to keep
I
the
get to
beauty
keep the beauty
card.
card already. What do
You
I
get to be in the Beauty Card Hall of Fame.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Okay.
I'm no pressure.
Okay, so the last question is, in 1914, during the silent film era, Max Factor released a makeup product for it to be easier to appear natural called Natural Grease Paint. In what year did it increase its shades from 12 shades to 31 shades? Was it the 1940s, the 1930s, or the 1920s? I should have started off with this one.
I will say the 1930s.
That is incorrect.
Oh, no.
You was gonna be 5 for 5. Oh man,
1940s?
It's the 20s.
Oh, it was the 20s.
Yeah, he started off with 12 shades.
That's amazing.
And then they went to 31. I mean, probably was still 31 like ashy shades. But
well,
you know,
it's amazing because the Max Factor, with Shiseido, it is really interesting because like a lot of the products that Max Factor was creating for Hollywood at the time were like the inspiration for products that the Shiseido labs created.
Oh wow.
So like specifically like the pan stick, which I think was in like the 20s or 30s, I can't remember, was like was inspired one of the first foundation products, color foundation products for Shiseido.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed that I didn't get that one right, but I guess
it's okay.
I guess an 80% isn't too bad.
80% means you still got an A.
Okay.
Congratulations.
All right. Yay.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast,
Thank
James. This was so much fun. I learned so much from you. Please share with the audience how to connect with you on social and all the things.
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram. You can follow Shiseido on Instagram. And yeah.
What's your handle?
Oh, sorry. I'm so bad at this. I'm like, this is where, you can tell that I am like a living dinosaur from the 90s. My handle is James Aaron Boehmer, which is my full name at Instagram.
It's okay. We'll link all the things for you.
Perfect.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you. And I'm so excited because we have so much in store for the life of a makeup artist. Don't forget, you can actually watch this episode on YouTube. And don't forget to follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We have so much in store. So I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.